everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. With the holidays approaching and the likelihood of, us seeing family members we haven't seen in a while, or just seeing people in general we haven't seen in a while, and dealing with people who tend to yell or over enunciate when they learn about our hearing loss and how I deal with that, and what you can do. When I first found out about my hearing loss and started telling people, I did notice a lot of people often started talking like this, and it did really bother me at the beginning. But then I kind of came to realize they were just trying to speak more clearly when all they have to do is speak more clearly instead of over enunciating. And I think that's something that I've learned too, the longer I've had my hearing loss, is just to become a better communicator in general. Don't mumble. I've come across many mumblers in my years, and it's funny how much more you realize that when you're trying to lip read or just trying to hear. There's a ton of mumblers or people who yell. Don't know why they think that's an appropriate response when all they have to do is speak a regular volume, again, clearly. But for whatever reason, those are the responses most people have when you tell them you have hearing loss. They like to speak louder, enunciate awkwardly, which also makes it even harder to lip read. And I don't think that they realize that. But anyway, what I have done when people have started to speak at me like that is I kind of, if I feel comfortable enough, again, it depends on the person and it depends on the situation. I have interrupted them and be like, do you mind not doing that? That's kind of rude. Or, you don't have to speak that way. Kind of try and change how it is. And most people are like, oh my God, sorry, like I didn't know, which is fine. It's a learning curve for a lot of people. It's still just, I don't know. I don't think people are trying to be rude. I'm sure there are some people out there who are, being vindictive, but whatever. But I don't think that most people are trying to be rude. They're just trying to do what they think is helpful. And so I just tell them, hey, just speak clearly. I will say one of my biggest pet peeves is when people whisper and they're like trying to tell you something, secret. And I'm like, yeah, I can't hear you. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they like say it again. And I'm like, I can't hear whispers. So either take me to another room, close the door, and say it to me like regularly, or don't tell me at all. And then if they do it like the third time, I'm like, I pretend to hear and I'm just like, whatever, because it's very frustrating and there's only so much you can handle and deal with. And that's fine. And I think if people aren't willing to adjust how they communicate appropriately, then it shouldn't be on us who have a hearing disability to respond to that. I mean, if you've tried and told them, hey, I can't hear you, or please try this when speaking to me, it's not on us if we don't hear what they're saying, because we've tried to tell them. Another thing too that I find really hard is, people like to have festive music in the background. And that's just one more thing that clouds the conversations going on. And so with my family in particular, hey guys, I know you're watching, I love you. I really strongly dislike when there's background music on, and it's still an adjustment for them. I often just go and, turn it off, or ask someone to turn it off. And sometimes there's a bit of, well, but I just want the music on. And I'm like, okay, well then I can't hear you, but it is what it is. And again, family, I know you're watching, I love you. It's sometimes I just say whatever and I just deal with it. And sometimes you unfortunately do just have to go with the flow. I find myself more frequently tired at functions like that where there's background music or multiple side conversations going on, and I don't typically stay up as late as I may have once before, because I feel the hearing fatigue is just, I can feel it coming on. I'm just like, I need to say enough is enough and go to bed. But yeah, I think and a lot of my videos have spoken about this, is being your own advocate. So making sure you tell people what you need in order to hear clearly. And again, it's sometimes a very uncomfortable conversation to have, especially when people are over talking like this or yelling, and it's very difficult, but at the same time, it'll make your experience better. And unfortunately, sometimes you might have to have that conversation the next time you see them and the next time, because not everyone gets it the first try. And I think we have to, as hearing impaired people, have to remember that not only is it a transition for us, but it's also a transition for the people around us if it's something that's relatively new in your life. And, I was diagnosed at 25. And so prior to that, I heard normally, and my family was used to that. So we all have our habits, and old habits die hard. And because it's not something that I physically look different, it's really easy for people to forget. Another big pet peeve of mine is when people turn away from me and keep talking, and I'm like, yeah, I caught your last word, and then it was like I don't hear you when you turn. So again, that's another thing to remind people, is to look at me when you're talking to me. I need to see your face, and I need to be able to read your read how you're presenting it, because if I can't see you speaking to me, it's really hard for me sometimes to gauge the emotion, I guess, in your voice. And it's not every time. I mean, it's not all times, but most times when people turn away from me, I lose the conversation. And I think, again, it's back to it being a transition for both parties in your life. And it's really easy to get upset when people aren't listening or hearing what you need. But just remember to take one day at a time. And I think it's also important to remember that if it's too much, it's okay to leave, and it's okay to be like, I can't handle this right now. And if people are upset by that, that's not on you. You have to listen to what's important for you, and you have to set your own boundaries, especially when it comes to what you're comfortable with your hearing loss, because it's exhausting, from the hearing fatigue and the brain fog and just all the other things we have to deal with. Maybe your tinnitus is triggered by the excess noise, or there's so many different things that people have to deal with hearing loss, and you just have to listen to what's right for yourself. And I know that, again, it's all this sounds so easy until you have to do it, but I think it's important to say and to try and just remind yourself that you just have to take one day at a time and one situation at a time, and not every situation is going to work out how you want it to, but you just have to do, again, what's right for you. And I think that's all you really can do. But I would love to know if you have any tips that you do, or anything you like to tell people when you meet them, or reminders you like to share. So let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you handle meeting new people, or handling holiday situations with them. Anyways, I'll see you all next time, and thank you so much again for tuning in. Bye.